How do we solve that problem?
Oh man, that is definitely a tough thing in all career fields, but cybersecurity is not immune to that. I think cybersecurity, people get the sense that one area that I think is really exciting that I'm keeping my fingers on the pulse for is foreign certifications. There's a lot of focus on United States-based certifications, but countries like Switzerland, Germany, UK, and Japan, they have certification programs out there, and a lot of them do have an English option. Sometimes you just need that little screwdriver, and you need to build your toolkit. Have the sledgehammer, the screwdriver, the wrench, build as many tools into your kit as you can so that you can do more specialized stuff and you'll get further. I think that's a great analogy.
Welcome to the TopCyberPro podcast, the show where we bring experts in the cybersecurity industry to share their valuable knowledge, experience, tips, tools, techniques, and resources to help you become a top cyber pro. And now, here's your host for this episode, Terry Thompson. Hey, Paul, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Terry?
And I am doing fantastic. Every day is Monday, like my church says. We kind of was bantering about that before the show here. And I love it. Within the cybersecurity industry, it's one of those things that every day potentially has the day of being Monday, depending on how you look at it. What are your thoughts on that mindset when I say that?
Oh yeah, I mean, every day is exciting. I'm glad that every day is not a Friday because, that would be the worst going into the weekend. Every day being never knowing what's going to happen, but Mondays they get a bad rap, but it's a fresh start, and you get to do something new and exciting.
Yeah, I love that. In the cybersecurity industry, there's a lot to unpack within cyber. There's a lot of people that want to get into the field and don't know how to. There's people that are in the field and they do not know how to progress their career, and we're going to dive into some of that here today. But you have one of the best, if not the best, certification roadmaps that are out there. So you got the certification roadmap, you got the career roadmap. My goodness, man, there's a lot to unpack with those. I remember the first time I looked at them, I was like, dude, this is a lot to look at. It really is. And I want to dive into some of that right here. But first and foremost, I want to understand, why did you create these roadmaps and who is it meant to serve or help?
8 years ago, I mean, I've always been really heavily organized on my continuing education plan. And I always had like spreadsheets and PowerPoints and stuff to keep me on track. And then I saw this thread that had like 10 or 12 certifications on it. They were kind of racked and stacked, much like what the certification roadmap looks like now. And I said, hey, that's great. Let me use that for my own career. And then I cleaned it up because it was, it was made in like PowerPoint. And so I made a little adjustments and I shared it out and it got some reception. Then I decided, there's certs on here that I want to take that aren't on the map. So let me go ahead and add those. And then, every few months I would add a couple more and it just turned into a snowball. So it started out serving me, but, wanted to share. I'm a military veteran, and a big part of being enlisted in the military is you're a mentor for a lot of soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines. Can't forget them. And then, that mentor, even though I left the military, that mentorship mentality stayed with me. So I've always wanted to share out as much information as I can. And so now, the certification roadmaps kind of served its purpose for me, but I want to continue working on it and sharing it out so that people who are struggling to get into or advance their careers in cybersecurity have a tool that can help them, make their plans.
I love that. And thank you for your service, by the way. I too am a retired veteran. I served in the U.S. Army for 24 years, multiple combat tours, retired, 100% disabled, multiple combat tours. I could go on down the line throughout my career as well too. But look, at the end of the day, it's a resource. It's leadership. It's things that you've learned along the way that can serve as a valuable resource. Because I learned over the years, you're going to have good leaders, you're going to have bad leaders, you're going to have leaders that are in between. And that's one of the things that I loved about what you did right here, is that you created a resource for beginners, intermediate people, expert people, that gives them really, it's a roadmap. It really is. And I think that the career path, the certification path, is often overlooked and or misunderstood. So when I say that right there, from a leadership perspective, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects of leadership, of course, but one very important aspect of it is sharing information. Sometimes as a leader, you have a top level view, you have a wider view of all the information that's out there. And if you can package that information into something that's consumable by people who need it, people that you mentor, people that work for you, that is a valuable leadership trait. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. I wouldn't say that I'm a cybersecurity leader or anything, but taking those lessons from my military career and positions where I have been a leader, it kind of instilled that feeling where I would like to be able to share this information. Of course, being in cybersecurity and IT kind of helps me learn the ins and outs of data visualization and data aggregation, which helped me kind of put it together in a smaller package.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I truly believe that is missing within the corporate world, because I'm a contractor, and I retired and I went right into the contractor world.
Yeah.
And I truly see this, even in the military side and even on the contractor side, is that I see a definitive lack of career development. In the military, we called it developmental counseling. And in the corporate world, it's a little bit different. We got the end of year reports and this, that, and the other, and it still lacks. I mean, leaders are still lacking to develop their subordinate employees or potential future leaders. How do we solve that problem?
Oh man, that is definitely a tough thing in all career fields, but cybersecurity is not immune to that. I think cybersecurity, people get the sense that if you stay in a position for more than 2 years, then you're stagnant. And the way to combat that feeling and to keep that loyalty to one company is for the corporations to help develop people. But corporations are afraid to do that because, hey, we'll spend all this money training somebody, developing somebody, and then they go and leave. So it's kind of like that's catch-22. Both concepts are feeding each other. So the corporations do really need to set up a better workplace. So I think it's the corporations that need to start, right? They need to take the first step. They need to develop plans and just communicate, really. If you don't know whether or not you have promotion potential within an organization, then you're going to look at other places. But if you're aware that either you do or you do not, then you know what to train for, and you know what steps and you can search out steps to get there.
And I love that. Yeah. I love that. And your certification roadmap, your career roadmap, it really outlines that. It really does give somebody that start, beginner, intermediate, expert level, different fields, different tasks, different jobs. I mean, you've really, you've put in a vast amount of work and extensive work within this. And I truly believe that anybody that wants to get into or break into cybersecurity or even progress within their career, this roadmap right here will literally help somebody answer all of those questions. So here's what I want to do. I want to bring up on the screen, I want to share my screen here real quick, your certification roadmap. And I think that bringing up the certification roadmap, let's dive into that a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here real quick. All right, you can see my screen, right?
I can, yeah.
Okay, so here's your roadmap right here. And I love this. Like I said, when I first looked at this, I was like, oh my goodness, where do I begin? Yeah. So myself and Jim, we sat down and we analyzed this and we broke it down. We saw how you have this, but I want to hear your thoughts on this roadmap right here from a beginner, intermediate, expert level. How can somebody either starting in cybersecurity, wanting to get into cybersecurity, starting in cybersecurity, or progressing their career into cybersecurity, how can somebody use this roadmap right here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do get a lot of questions. So there's a feedback thing on this website, and I get a lot of people saying, hey, I'm new to cybersecurity. Where do I even start? And maybe a year or two ago, I didn't have beginner, intermediate, and expert on the left-hand side there. And so people were like, how do I even read it? Is this top down, bottom up? So of course it's bottom up, and you can kind of think of that the things at the very bottom of this roadmap as certifications that are foundational, things that will help you build a base to stack the rest of your continuing education and experience upon. I would recommend that if people who know what they want to get into, say, I really want to be a penetration tester, go ahead and start in the column. On this one, it would be penetration testing or exploitation, all the way on the right hand side of the map. go ahead and start there. Do a little bit more research, because this roadmap is a shotgun blast of all information. While there's a little bit of subjectivity in how the quality of the certifications based on where they stack, I didn't exclude any certifications from this. So if it could be, as long as it wasn't a scam company, it's on this map. So still do a little bit more research into each one, but start towards the bottom, figure out which one best suits your level now, and then plan out what the next step is going to be. Always have a first step and a second step ready, and work your way up. If you don't know what you want to start with, then start in that middle column, the security and risk management. While a lot of people say risk management is a boring thing, it's very prolific. There's a lot of career opportunities out there, and also it's a good foundation. Every other domain in security needs to know risk management, because that's kind of what everything boils down to. So things like the Security Plus, SSCP, those are great places to start. If Security Plus is a bit too much, then there's definitely other certifications on a more foundational level that are a little bit below there, which are, but you have to make the value judgment yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, once again, there's a lot to look at, but what 3 recommendations, recommended certs for anyone really kind of starting? So I know, like, for example, I've done Net Plus, Security Plus. I've done a few different things throughout my military career, and even beyond my military career. So I went to Villanova University and took Security Plus, paid probably way more money than I needed to. And it's one of those things to where, looking at this right here, what would be like a recommended, either a starter cert, because I believe that it's Security Plus, but maybe you have a different opinion. What would be a great starter cert for somebody wanting to get into cybersecurity?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I've seen a lot of people. I actually saw another roadmap just the other day from Cyber Judo. And that's where they said to start as well, Security Plus. And I agree. Now you can make a judgment call whether or not you start with Network Plus or Security Plus, but I think those two are great foundations. Me personally, I started with A Plus, and I would not recommend that route. While it's great information, I don't think it's super pertinent to cybersecurity. So Security Plus is great. SSCP would be better if you could get somebody to, or I'm sorry, GSEC would be better if you get your company to pay for it, but it's an expensive cert.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's there's a lot of organizations that are out there that we truly believe are taking advantage of people trying to not necessarily certify people, but really give you the education, the tips, tools, techniques, training, resources in order to get into the field. And, and that's one of the reasons why we started TopCyberPro. We want to solve that problem, because we don't really believe that you need to pay $5,000 for training in order to get out there. So we really created a package for the average person to get some good training and then go out there and get certified at whatever it is. So we're still building out our curriculum and everything within TopCyberPro. And once again, Security Plus, I think it's a great way. What is there like an emerging certification, or a certification that you either do not have on here, or you're on the lookout for? Is there an emerging certification, or one that is yet to really fully evolve yet that you believe is on the horizon?
So yeah, I do check this every 90 days or so to find new certifications. Typically, SANS has a lot of new certifications coming out. They've been focusing more on the advanced expert level. So they have a lot of certs that where they have courses like a even more advanced ICS certs coming out. They have the course ready, but not the certification. I know Microsoft is redoing a lot of their certifications. They've been retiring stuff and bringing stuff, new stuff in. Cisco just redid all of theirs a year or two ago. What I'm really been paying a lot of attention to is asset security and identity and access management certifications, because there's not a lot of them out there. Now, the ones that are out there are pretty high quality, but they are few. There's not a lot of options. If you wanted to drill down into a particular place, it would be pretty tough to do that. You kind of have to go with one of the big 4 or 5 that they have. So I think that's a big opportunity for people to, or for those to be expanded. One area that I think is really exciting that I'm keeping my fingers on the pulse for is foreign certifications. There's a lot of focus on United States-based certifications, but countries like Switzerland, Germany, UK, and Japan, they have certification programs out there, and a lot of them do have an English option. I've been able to include the United Kingdom ones. I think I got one from like Serbia and a couple other on there. They're all great. You can take them from any country. They supply them in English. They're verifiable like any other certification. And I want to find a lot more of those and put them on there, because I think it would be great to have more of an international feel for the cybersecurity training programs.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that really opens up the doors for travel. That opens up the door for, like NATO positions, for example. Yeah, I didn't really have any clue, about certain positions. Like you mentioned the UK, for example. Yeah, I remember when I worked in a joint environment when I was active duty, I was working in the G6, and I was talking with people that worked in the UK, that worked in different places, worked in Italy, this, that, and the other. And it leads me to believe that there's more opportunities outside of the US. Would you agree that there's more opportunities in the US or more opportunities outside of the US?
Opportunities for learning, probably United States is doing pretty good for post-university training. I would have to evaluate a little bit closer, but I think UK is doing very good for jobs. The United States, United States is seen as great for high-paying jobs, because we have the FANG companies out there. We've got big Fortune 500 companies who can pay $400,000 or $500,000 to $1 million. But for the average pay, for the average person, so if on my career cybersecurity or my career roadmap, a lot of people give me the feedback like, well, I make $200,000 in that position. And my feedback to that is that the what I put on that chart is the average pay, and it's a lot lower than people think it is for the United States. When I compare it to like United Kingdom and Switzerland being a big one, they pay a little bit higher for the average person. So while the maximum pay is a bit lower, the average pay is higher, and so I think that's a great opportunity if you aren't in San Francisco or LA or something. Overseas is a great place to take a look for a career opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. What is the reasoning behind the pay gap? So you got different knowledge, skills, and experience, different domains, tasks, different job titles, whatever label we want to put on that. Why is there such a pay gap between beginner, intermediate, and expert level tasks?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for why beginner pay has slowly been decreasing, and advanced pay has slowly been increasing, is that we have a lot of people who are interested in cybersecurity right now, and they're all vying for the same positions. And then those positions are not typically entry level. There's not a lot of entry level positions in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is kind of a feeder from other disciplines, like being in IT, system administration, customer support, even management. If you're in enterprise risk management, maybe you'll come over to cybersecurity. But it's tough to be a beginner trying to get in. There are positions out there. And I know a route that I took and a lot of other people took is starting in IT and then making the transition. But that transition itself can even be difficult. A lot of it is many people trying to get into it. And then, but then you see, but they're looking to get in because they can see those top level pays. The advanced people who don't stick around for 20 years, or who do stick around for 20 years, they get massive pay, and that's what everybody's chasing. So I think that's a big disparity there. And other countries, it's just cost of living. It's a little different, and then how they structure stuff. UK has a great, and I got an analogy to our NIST program, but they're a little more structured. So people who are certified in the UK can get hiring managers know exactly what they are capable of, or to a greater degree than the US, so they can pay higher. I think that's also a big contributor.
Yeah, and pay is a driving factor when it comes to making decisions of getting certifications, travel, all the above. And it's one of those things that, do you enjoy what you're doing, or are you just chasing the money? And I don't think there's really much of a conundrum there between the two. Some people are, they stay at certain levels and they're just kind of stuck there because they enjoy the job and never really look at progressing their careers. Like, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I love the job. What do you think holds people back from trying to progress?
Yeah, there's a lot of fear, I think, especially in the current economy. People can be afraid to make a jump. I know I was in the military, and my wife was afraid for me to get out at the time because she didn't, military is very stable. It's tough, but it's stable. And she was afraid that if we made a transition that, we're risking things. We could be laid off. We don't know what the economy is going to bring. We don't know what's going to change. And so risks like that are something that a lot of people are afraid of. And being in cybersecurity, you're a little hyper vigilant about risks. And I think that the way to get over that fear is exactly the same thing you do in your job: is quantify the risk and implement some controls. And that's the only way to progress, is to figure out what can control the risk and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. I want to shift gears over to your career roadmap. So I want to go ahead and share my screen here. I've got your roadmap up and I want to share the screen here and, talk me through this roadmap right here, because there's, looking at this roadmap right here, I think it breaks down the pay. It breaks down by domain, by particular thing. So walk us through this roadmap right here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this roadmap, I'm going to make a second version as a disclaimer. This one is aligned with NIST's work roles. There's 52 work roles in the NIST cybersecurity framework. And so I put those 52 on here. The domains that are on there, separated by color, are the NIST domains. And so I tried to put those on there. However, I sympathize with some people, some feedback that I've gotten, that they don't know what some of these do. Like, what is a target network analyst? What is a cyber ops planner versus some other position? So I'm going to make another one where it's more aligned to certification, or job roles that you see on like Indeed or something. But for this one, this one's read left to right, with the left being the lowest pay. There's a pay scale at the top. Starting at 30,000 is the lowest pay position that I saw for a junior security control assessor. And then it kind of works its way up. The salaries are the average salaries for the United States as given by Glassdoor. When they were weird, I would verify it against like salary and some other places just to make sure that it wasn't too crazy. And then the text itself aligns with the dollar amount that position, the average dollar amount that position pays. And then I thought that it was kind of clever that the longer names kind of have a longer wage band, because that's kind of how it plays out as well. As a senior enterprise architect actually can go from like 150 to 300,000, but at least it's represented that there's a larger pay band. So anywhere within there is a typical average pay for someone in the United States in general. That could be Indiana, it could be San Francisco. So yeah, this needs to be taken with a grain of salt, adjust with your cost of living in your current area.
Yeah, if it sounds fancy, it's going to be very costly, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And so great roadmap, by the way. And once again, as myself and Jim, we were talking about this, and we saw how it really broke down into either particular tasks or domains, and it's clearly identified, the pay scale, clearly identified jobs. And what I want to dive into here next is how that career map, how can this really help somebody? So I think it really kind of clearly defines, okay, what are you looking for? Are you looking for something that you would be satisfied with, something that would be more pay? How does this career map really help someone either look for a job or really progress within their career if they're already in cyber?
Yeah, great question. One goal of the roadmap is to level set people's expectations. When people say, oh, I want to be a CISO because they pay $1 million. Well, I want to level set that actually the average CISO makes 200,000. Well, that's a great pay. People need to understand that there's other positions out there that may be more fulfilling than CISO. So it helps you see where you can come in. Like if you saw a job that said, hey, we want a technical support specialist. You can kind of look at the roadmap and see, okay, where would be my next step after that? So the point of this is just like the certification roadmap is, how are you going to progress? How are you going to plan out those next steps? If you have a position that you're in now, let's say you're a junior system security analyst, but you want to break into being a forensics. Well, you can take a look at the roadmap. You can look at what are the positions that are just above what I get paid for a forensics job under investigate. And you can use that as your next stepping stone. These are not meant to be linear. Just because the line has your job as a junior system analyst doesn't mean you have to go straight to senior system analyst. Hop around on this. Go to find out what position you like the most, and what position is next for you on that track.
Yeah, I love that, because let's say, for example, that you have this desire to analyze things or investigate things. You have a career map for that. If you have somebody that, they're more of a leader, for example, they might want to find a job in the oversee and govern roadmap or career path right there. I love how you have this broken down, because it really excites people. It's like, okay, now it also leads me to believe, do you have like a questionnaire or some type of a thing to where, okay, if you answer these questions, this will align you better within my roadmap? Do you have something like that?
I don't. And, it is on my plans, both for the certification side and the career side. And the only thing holding me back really is my inability to code in JavaScript.
Okay.
So I am putting it together, and that's something that I do want to offer out in a later iteration of this. I do want these to be more personalized. Right now, this is just a shotgun blast for everybody, but I want you to be able to go in and say, hey, this is my position. What do you recommend for the next step?
Yeah.
The way I have a framework for that, and it's the cybersecurity framework from NIST, where they say like, hey, these are all the competencies, and these are all the things that this position is capable of doing. And that's 70% aligned to this other position. So if somebody says, hey, I am a junior system analyst now, and I'm performing above average in that position, then I can say, hey, well, these are the traits that you probably have. If you just pick up these 10 more traits, these 10 more skills, you can transition over into forensics or governance. And that's the direction I'm heading. I can't do that now, but if somebody wanted to do that on their own, the NICE look up cybersecurity workforce framework from NICE, and they have a little tool in there. You put all your skills in there, and you can see what positions am I qualified for. And it's a pretty hot tool. Just needs a little bit of work, and I'm hoping to do a better data visualization for it to help people make those plans.
Yeah, I think there's huge opportunity for you there. I mean, not only to capture leads, but to also, present people with that career map, that roadmap, answer some questions, fill out a questionnaire. And then, once again, it could lead to consulting, it could lead to referrals, it could lead to a lot of different things. And I truly believe that, man, I'm rooting for you on that one.
Thank you.
You get that one solved right there. And I would love to share that with everybody. So that way, it'd be a powerful tool. It really will be. So
Yeah.
I want to know, looking at this right here, I see that there's opportunity that's out there for either someone to potentially get into cybersecurity or for potential growth. But I want to know, from your perspective, which careers have the potential for the greatest growth?
Oh, potential for growth. So that's a tough question to answer, because it depends on where you are. But generally in the United States, I think that SIOCs, so system operation, security operations centers, have a lot of positions for more junior people, but that's also a great career path where you can start as a junior analyst and work your way all the way up into whatever other position you want. You can be in one company for a long time if you joined a security operating center. So that's a lot of the analyze stuff. That blue operations column on the certification roadmap. I think that's a great place, because we're seeing a lot more cybercrime. We're seeing a lot more novel ways of doing things. And then a lot of the work that we can't outsource to a tool is being done in these security operating centers. So I think that's a great place for growth. Other ones are, I think, while I don't have a lot of data to back it up, I think penetration testing is not really a great place for for beginners to go into. It's a very niche thing, and you kind of have to know exactly what niche that you want to do penetration for. It's tough to get in. So I see that as potential, but not perhaps growing.
Mhm.
And then, like always, governance has been growing, and it just continues to grow. We have more regulations, more requirements coming down, new novel attacks coming out that require governance to fix. It's not the most sexy job, but it definitely is something that you can do for a little while and then bounce somewhere else. Or it's one of the best ways for cybersecurity to not exactly drive value, but prevent loss is through the governance. And so I see a lot of value being there.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of, well, do you go deep or do you go wide? You know,
Yeah.
it really is. And I think that whenever you go deep and you niche down and you're more specialized, you can command more pay. You
Exactly.
can command more opportunities. So I agree with going deep versus going wide.
So for me, I typically recommend start out wide and then go deep as you go in. That's kind of what I've been doing. I was wide in the military, I was wide in government service, and then I've niched down into ICS security as my personal career. And basically, if a lot of other people started joining in this niche, then maybe I can't demand as much money, but I can because I've drilled down into a very specific area. But you also need to be careful that kind of watch the market, know if other people are coming in to kind of push you out or drive the market rate down, and then find a second niche. But yeah, niching down after you've been in for 3 or 4 years or more is definitely a good career path.
Yeah, 100%. And here's what that reminds me of. It reminds me of building knowledge, skills, and experience. Because as you're putting within your toolkit the knowledge, the skills, you're gaining that experience to be of value to anybody that is seeking assistance. And you can position yourself so as you learn wide, you help deep. And I think that as you learn wide, you're able to help deep or niche down, and then you're able to go into multiple niches. Because I truly believe that if you put your back against the wall on one particular thing and there's not really a market for it, well, you're really not going to succeed or make more money or whatever the case may be. And that's where you start. That's where learning wide, niching down, but creating multiple opportunities as well, too, I think is very important.
Yeah, as my first sergeant liked to say a lot. So he's a senior leader in a military organization, company level, and he liked to say, it's great to have a sledgehammer. It's a great tool. You can bust down walls, you can get a lot done, but sometimes you just need that little screwdriver, and you need to build your toolkit. Have the sledgehammer, the screwdriver, the wrench. Build as many tools into your kit as you can so that you can do more specialized stuff and you'll get further. I think that's a great analogy.
I absolutely love that. So, kind of tying up a few things here. I love both of your roadmaps. You've clearly laid it out for anybody to come in, have a look at that. I want to know, why does the average person really not invest within themselves to progress their career or to learn new knowledge, new skills, whatever? Because I know myself, I have a degree, I have a college degree. I also have certifications. And then I also invest within, additional opportunities that are out there because I'm building my toolkit. But why does the average person not do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, like I said earlier, there's a fear factor, right? Why should I get this if I'm not going to jump to another place because it's too much risk to move. Then there's also that it's a lot of hard work. I mean, it's always sexy to say that we can, CISOs make all this money, but there's a lot of stuff you need to do to get to that point. And I know it's tough to do all the studying, to read all the articles, to watch all the podcasts, to gain all the skills that you need to keep progressing. And life gets in the way. And also it's tough to see the value in things as well. I know a lot of people in cybersecurity like to say that degrees are not necessary. And it's starting to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But there's still a great value to having a degree. It breaks down doors that are otherwise closed. Sure, you can walk through this other door that's open to non-degree holders, but you don't. It leaves these unknown unknowns out there, these career paths that you could have developed if you don't have those skills. And that is one of the goals of my certification roadmap, is to show some value in continuing that education. And I'm going to add more features and information in there to kind of help that goal. Like, sure, CISSP is kind of towards the top, but what is the value of that? How much money? It's not as easy as saying the average CISSP person makes $89,000. That doesn't tell the whole story. We need more information. And so to answer your question, one of them is lack of information, another's fear of change, and the third is it's hard work, and you have to like what you do to continuously work on it on your own time.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of goes into responsibility. So, you know, as we're looking out and we're looking for jobs, we're looking for opportunities, we're looking for what certification, you know, because I remember when I got ready to retire from the military, and it was like, gosh, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to go do, but it was like I ended up going to do something completely different than what I was certified in. So as I was going through that process, I really had to go get certifications. I had a very short, tight window of like 90 days or less. I was like, dude, I'm about ready to retire. I am not getting feedback on all these resumes I'm putting out there and this, that, and the other. And I got to a point, I'm not even going to sugarcoat this. I was nervous. I was scared. I was like, man, I'm not going to have a job by the time I retire. And it's one of these things to where I put more faith and trust in my own ability to conversate. So instead of putting out resumes and hoping for the best, I literally just went to a place and said, hey, dude, let me talk to who's in charge here. And it was one of those things. I literally had to put myself out there, because talking to HR departments, they're not going to help you. They have things, they have quotas, they have things that they want to do. But how does you, and this is where I want to go with this. I truly believe that with your resource that you have, both of your career maps, your roadmaps, you potentially could help HR departments guide potential leads or potential employees. There's another word I'm looking for. I'm having a brain cramp on what it is, but candidates. That's the word I'm looking for. Candidates. Potential candidates for hiring requirements. How does your roadmap solve that problem for HR to fulfill hiring requirements?
Yeah, and thank you for that, because that is another thing that I've kind of been working on, is for the, so what I'm physically doing now is I've been putting all the certification information into a database. I'm building the database, and part of that database is going to be what skills on the cybersecurity workforce framework does that certification certify. That way, if an HR person wanted to go in and say, hey, I'm looking for a person who can do SQL, knows, let's say 853, NIST special publication 853, and they know how to handle an incident. That would be a weird job, but they can go in and say, hey, these are the skills I need. And then it can pop up with like, look for these certifications. And then if I take it one step further, I can have, if people wanted to go in and say, hey, I have these skills, what certification do you recommend next? I can tie that in and say, hey, these are also work roles that you would be good for. Also, hey, these are companies that are looking for those exact skills that you have. So it is a dream of mine, probably way down the road, to kind of combine all that together. So HR can come in and look for candidates based on actual skills that they have that are certified or self-certified as well. And then candidates can come in and say, hey, this is what I want to learn. This is what I want to do next. Or, hey, I see this role says they want these 40 skills. I have 30 of them. I'm going to go train for those other 10. And I'm hoping, my mission statement really is to influence the cybersecurity domain as a whole to be better, to increase the defense over, the global cybersecurity posture. And it's a massive undertaking, but I think if I just keep chipping away at it, and help people become more educated, build more skills, that we're going to work in that direction.
I love that, Paul. Thank you so much for taking time out today, man. You already have some valuable and tremendous resources out there, and I truly believe that it's going to continue to grow and continue to have influence and impact, not only within the cybersecurity industry, but within, as you just explained, HR, and it's going to help so many different people across so many different fields here. Before we go here, what are your final thoughts? If you could share one golden nugget, any final thoughts here with our viewers and listeners here today, what would be your final thoughts?
Oh man, put me on the spot there. Let's see. You know, I think so. My final thought would be it's very good to keep progressing. Always continually educate yourself, always push for the next thing, but also know when to hit the brake. Know how to balance your work and life. Because in cybersecurity and IT and a lot of STEM positions, you have to continuously learn new things, and that can eat into your personal time. But keep your mental health, your family, and keep yourself happy as well. So do push, find ways to fit study and learning new skills into your schedule, but not at the not through sacrificing your mental or your family.
I love that, Paul. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you very much, Sherry.